Hi, my name is Cameron Fore, Adoption PM with Omnissa, and this is a demonstration of the latest intelligence with DEX for Horizon demo. So to get started, navigate to Virtual Apps and Desktops, and you'll notice that there's a Horizon Operations Overview dashboard. This is the primary dashboard that is included out of box with intelligence for Horizon, and we'll go through some of the metrics that are being displayed on the dashboard, as well as help you understand what's included with intelligence for Horizon, and what actually requires the DEX add-on solution. So at the very top, we have some information around the organization or what's connected into the intelligence environment. So we see here that we have 6 edge gateways, we have 7 UAGs, 3 connection servers, there's roughly 40 pools in the environment that is reporting, as well as 222 users in the past 28 days that have used the platform. Scrolling down, we see the information regarding session count. This is actually detailing how many Horizon agents with active sessions are sending data into the intelligence platform. So here we can see that we have, roughly 21 sessions overall. There's a single agent within an error status, and we can see the overall trending average login times for our various pods. Now, if you click on the view widget under session count, this will detail the type of session data that is being pushed into the intelligence platform. So in this environment, you'll see information such as username, what pool they're connected to, current session status, and you'll also see the term impacted flag. So impacted is really just letting us know that in that collection interval, were any of the metrics beyond our normal expected thresholds that we consider good practice. If there is an impacted flag, it basically just lets us know that at least one of the metrics had a performance issue. So here, for the default columns that we see here, we see CPU utilization, memory utilization, disk I/O, read and writes. We also see client information as well. So as we scroll to the right, we'll see some of the other additional information that's being fed into the platform. We can see what's client protocols being used. If there was an issue with protocol connectivity, the none flag would actually show the status of, hey, there was a performance problem. We also get client Wi-Fi data. So for any users using either a Mac or a Windows client, that would support sending Wi-Fi data to the intelligence platform. The user also has to actually be on Wi-Fi. So for every session where all of those variables are true, then the Wi-Fi data should populate as normal. Additional connectivity information we get, so we get the traditional protocol latency and packet loss. Again, this shows us how the entire round trip of the user is connected in and how well that connection is working. But we also get additional information around how well they're connected to the internet. So we'll see things like average DNS response time and DNS packet loss. We also get LAN connectivity as well. So for our users' local LAN network, we get the additional last mile telemetry so we can know how well that user is connected even to their local gateway. So again, latency and packet loss is also captured. Other information is around logon information. So here we can see logon date and timestamp, how long the total logon duration happened. We get additional logon events as well. So this particular chart is meant to be a deep dive on all the metrics we capture, but you do see some of the default metrics that are displayed. Other client information is also being populated, so client version, IP address, is it Windows, Mac, web browser, that data is captured, as well as the actual desktop name or client name that's connected to the environment. Now, if you click on Manage Columns, this is another good way to see the additional metrics that are available. We don't display them by default into every single widget. So every metric that you see with a plus sign is just an indication that, hey, these are additional metrics that we're capturing. We're just not currently displaying them in the current charter window. So you can add them and customize them as you need to, but again, those are the default types of session metrics that we're collecting with just the basic out-of-box intelligence for Horizon. So as I mentioned, we're also looking at agent status. So this is actually across every pod. So if you have multiple pods, you have some on-prem, some in the cloud, we're going to capture all the agents globally and display them here. Again, this is just really looking for, do we have any major problems in the environment that's contributing to high error rates? If you see one or just a few, again, this is going to be a good quick way to check your environment just to make sure nothing's wrong or broken that could potentially impact users logging in. We also see average login times, as I mentioned earlier. Again, this is trending it by pods. If you have one pod starting to trend higher than the other, again, just a great way from a global perspective to see how all your pods are trending from a long time perspective. Now, as we scroll further down, we get into more of the service level information. So things like UAG health status, connection server health status. And we're actually looking at the health of the service itself. So this isn't just that the UAG or connection server is powered on. This is actually reporting back from the API that the Horizon services are operating properly. Again, if everything's working okay, you should have a single green bar counting all your UAGs, telling you that they're all okay. If you have problems where some of them are reporting back with a negative state, you'll get an additional bar. It'll be colored red and tell you that, hey, these particular UAGs or connection servers aren't reporting back healthy statuses. Additional things that we're looking for here, we also see CPU memory utilization across our UAGs and connection servers. Again, the goal is to make sure that we don't have any UAGs or connection servers running really hot, meaning greater than 90% on either CPU or memory. Usually those are early warning indicators that there could be a potential problem with those management servers within your environment. We also have the ability to monitor connection counts across UAGs. So again, this is helpful for just making sure load balancing is working properly, or that we don't have certain UAGs doing all of the work and some UAGs doing none of the work. Other things that we're looking for is making sure that we don't have UAGs going well beyond that 2,000 connection count limit, because again, that can cause stability issues within the environment, potentially impacting users trying to log in. So looking at the connection server layer, so again, I mentioned we do have the service status or health as well. But we also get certificate status and certificate expiration. So if you do have certificates that are in the failed state, again, that could cause an impact for users trying to log in. And of course, we want to make sure that we don't have those issues in the environment. But these metrics can actually be alerted on, so you don't have to be staring at the dashboard to see this information. You can actually configure a freestyle alert and basically warn you of any connection server that has failed certificates or failed health status, and then that way you can be proactive about troubleshooting and remediating the problems. Scrolling further down, again, this is populating connection server CPU and memory utilization. Again, the goal here is just making sure that we don't have connection servers really, running above that 90% threshold on either CPU or memory. And again, just trying to make sure that we can quickly identify any servers that are having performance issues or potential stability problems. And again, these are leading indicator metrics that could identify those issues. So looking at some of the pool level information, again, we try to monitor the pools for alerts or errors. In this case, we don't have any errors in any of our pools, which is ideal. That's what we're looking for. We also look at how pools are being used from an overall capacity perspective. So your pools that are running out of desktop or session capacity, we can trend those here. And here we're actually showing you a breakdown of agent errors by pool. So, at the top, we basically said, hey, we have one agent error. This is actually breaking it down. Okay, well, where are the errors? What pools are they in? So in this environment, if we mouse over, we can see that there is a pool name. Looks like it's AppCap 2034. And again, that would be the pool that had a problem. So if I needed to do remediation, I know exactly where to go to do that. Other information we're training is, again, pool average login time. So this is looking at the top pools and their average logins over time. So if you have certain pools that are trending much higher than other pools in terms of login time, you can identify, which pools did you spend your time trying to troubleshoot their login performance issues. And then finally, we're showing off some of the last mile telemetry that's being populated by the Horizon clients. So here we see Wi-Fi average signal quality and average WAN latency. So in most larger environments, these charts should look relatively flat. You might see some slight shifts up and down throughout the day, but primarily we're looking to see if there are any major negative trends in either of these charts. So if we're starting to see signal quality drop off or WAN latency starting to increase over time, again, that could be some type of indication that there could be networking challenges for users coming into the environment. So that really concludes the data that we're capturing from a intelligence for Horizon perspective. Now we're going to transition and start talking about DEX for Horizon add-on and the additional metrics that we get. So to begin, when you either do the trial or you're demoing Experience Management for Horizon, you will see this new section called Experience Management, and then you can click on an Experience Score. Notice there will be currently a physical and a virtual tab, so you can click on virtual if your environment has data from both the UEM side as well as Horizon. But looking at the virtual tab, this is actually where we're showing the trending Horizon session scores over time. So really what this is an indication of is based on our thresholds that we have configured within the platform, we can let you know over time how many users had an overall good quality experience with their desktop versus users who had poor or negative experience with their desktop. So to see how these thresholds are configured, you can click on View Thresholds. At the very top, you'll see Virtual Session. This actually indicates all of the metrics that we're using to calculate or figure out, was this user experience good for your user base? So looking at the metrics, some of them are operating system or VM-based metrics, so things like disk latency, CPU utilization, memory utilization, those are being captured. But it's also from a connectivity aspect. And as I mentioned, the base metrics will be protocol latency and packet loss, but we also include last mile telemetry such as WAN packet loss, WAN latency, as well as their local WAN latency as well. Logon duration is another metric, and we'll kind of show you how we can do analysis on these sessions and figure out, okay, well, which metrics are causing this poor experience scores throughout the environment. So clicking back to experience scores in virtual, if I go into Horizon sessions, you'll notice I have 3 primary categories. So I'm going to start with login experience first. We'll go here, and again, this is actually going to show me the last 24 hours of the overall login experience throughout the environment. So once we set our thresholds, we've configured them, we know what our best practices are. And if users are going beyond the thresholds that we want to support, they're automatically going to show up here in red. So by coming to this chart, I can immediately see that we didn't have any users within the last 24 hours reporting back a negative login experience score. Now we can look further back, maybe 24 hours isn't good enough information. Maybe we want to look at the last 7 days to see if there were some outliers. And again, we can quickly confirm that that wasn't the case, that most of our users were within at least the neutral scores that we defined in the thresholds. Going down the page, we can see a further breakdown of login trends over time. So this is really breaking it down by phase. So here we can see like GPO load time, profile load time, Windows shell load time, if there are login scripts applying, all of those are really calculated for us. And again, we're just trying to see if there's like one outlier category than another. Now, scrolling further down, we can see a list of users names that are logged in. From here, we can sort them by their scores. So if they had good versus neutral or poor, we can quickly find those users. But we can also see the calculations for the user. So if I just wanted to sort by logon time, I can see, hey, the highest one here was 1.4 minutes. I can see GPO load time was 1.8 seconds, profile, half a second, shell was around 14 seconds. So with this, we can also notice that the GPO load time is a hyperlink. So if I click on that hyperlink, this is actually going to show the breakdown of the GPO processing times. So automatically with the DEX agent and solution, we're actually calculating the GPO times for you. So without the DEX agent, you would not get this the GPO processing time. So this is going to tell you, if you have a GPO that's taking 3 minutes to load, it's going to tell you exactly which GPO it is. So it can help you to quickly do root cause analysis on what GPOs are causing user login issues. We can also click on the username. So the username actually takes us to a dashboard for that specific user. It looks like this user wasn't recent, so I might have to go back further in time. And again, if I look further back in time, I can see every single login that user has, how long it took, and how long each phase of the logon process took. I can also see a list of all the sessions, what pool they logged into. So again, if I needed to do some analysis of the login time for that pool, I would know exactly which pool to go to begin my analysis. Now, looking at different categories such as network and protocol. So again, this is looking at all the networking connection metrics that we collect. So traditionally speaking, protocol latency and packet loss are the common metrics that were captured. We have added the ability to look at things like WAN latency, Wi-Fi signal strength, as well as LAN latency. But using the scoring methodology, we're going to show you which category is actually the most problematic for your users. So simply just looking at users and their poor scores, I can quickly determine that protocol packet loss is the primary reason that users are having connectivity issues in the environment, which is going to lead me to click on that particular hyperlink. When I do it, I'm also going to get a dashboard, similar just I did for login experience, but now it's going to be focused on protocol packet loss metrics. So here, just like before, I can trend it over time, and I can also see a list of users, which users have the worst protocol packet loss, and I can also see there are other network metrics that may be relevant, such as LAN latency, WAN latency, and Wi-Fi signal strength. So again, if I click on this username, this is actually going to take you into our new user session timeline. Now, in this particular case, I went down a specific path to go through these experience score dashboards to get here. But let's say it was more of a help desk scenario. Maybe this user called in, or maybe I already knew that this particular user has been having problems. I don't necessarily have to go through these dashboards. I can go up to the search bar. I can click on the users tab. I can then just type in their name. It would show the result for that user. And when I find that user, I can click their name. And again, it's going to take me right back into their timeline. So what's important about this is now we can actually see that there are multiple ways to get to a particular user and do analysis and troubleshooting for their specific session. Now we started off this with looking at just the user from a connectivity perspective, but let's see if there's some additional information within the user where they might be having additional problems outside of networking. So here we'll notice that the user timeline loaded, but also notice that we defaulted to issues. So issues is the default filter when first reviewing a user's timeline. And what this will do is make sure we're only showing the metrics that had a poor score. So if a user CPU is running 30%, and they only had a connection problem, well, we're not going to show you CPU just because we don't want to overwhelm you with information. We want to make sure we're only showing you the information that's relevant for doing the troubleshooting. Now looking here, we can see that the user had some CPU spikes, got it to roughly 97%. I can click on CPU, and this will bring out our callout box will detail which applications were all running within that time period, which one had spikes, which one was using the most compute over time. And here we can see primarily it was Google Chrome. So Google Chrome used up to 95% of the processor. It averaged roughly 60% for that time window. Additionally, PowerShell was also consuming a lot of resources. Looks like it was using roughly 52% max, as well as almost 12% average within the time window that we're looking at. Now, if there are other processes that you're looking for, you can filter. So if you knew a particular process that you want to look at, in this case, we'll pick Paint. Microsoft Paint's not typically a very high resource utilization process, but again, it's kind of show you can quickly filter and search for certain processes if they don't show up in your top window. So now I can close this. Here I can also see additional spikes, so I can see disk IOPS is running hot. I could also see that there was an app that was unresponsive, but primarily it looks like this user had really poor connectivity to their desktop. So here we can see packet loss was roughly between 1 and 6%. We can see there was also some additional LAN latency, so it got as high as like 26 milliseconds at a certain point. But we also noticed that Wi-Fi signal quality was poor. So again, not just looking at LAN latency specifically or just protocol latency, we can also see that last mile telemetry to confirm that this user probably doesn't have the best networking environment, and that's contributing to their overall poor networking score. We also noticed that there's additional the top applications are running. So again, here we see that there were CPU spikes, and we can see again that Google Chrome was contributing to that, as well as Windows PowerShell. Now, other filters that you have from here, again, you can click on Overview. That's going to show you all the metrics that we were collecting during that session. So if there were any app crashes, app hangs, any app unresponsive, all of that information will be displayed. It's also going to show us the top 5 running apps within that time period. So without clicking on the CPU and doing that analysis, it's still going to show in this chart. But you can also filter it by other categories. If I just want to see top apps by CPU, I can click that. And again, it's only going to show me, again, those exact same applications that were running, that were consuming the most CPU. I can look just at networking metrics. So again, if that was the reason I came here and I just want to look at their networking problems, this is just going to filter all those metrics so I can quickly see those level of details. I can also change time frame. So again, if I'm curious if this happens like over time, so I can pick like the last, basically the last month, and we'll take a quick look. When that data loads, we can see that again that yes, this user looks like they have pretty good latency over time, but again, they do have problems with packet loss, Wi-Fi signal strength, and other metrics as well. All right, so let's go back to our dashboard again. That just kind of showed you how we can go to networking protocol, how we can see the new user timeline and troubleshoot a user directly from this list. Let's look at some of the other capabilities. So again, let's now go under VM performance. And again, here we see that, hey, none of the other metrics are a problem, but I do see there are at least 2 users that had a poor CPU score. Again, this is a demo environment, so we don't have a lot of users having issues. But as I go into the list, I can, yes, confirm that, hey, this user C4 has multiple sessions to various pools. And I can see that this particular session had the highest CPU runtime. So again, I can click on that user yet again, and I can go into that particular pool, and then I can confirm that, yes, CPU was running poor for that particular time. I can confirm that Google Chrome was the problem. So again, I was able to see the issue as well as see what application and process was driving it within just a matter of clicks. All right, so going back to VM performance. So again, those are really going to be your primary end user experience metrics, looking at it from both a login, a networking, and OS level performance. Let's also take a look at applications. So applications can be another area of poor experience for users. So when I click on the applications group, I see that there are scores for the applications running in the environment. I see that Google Chrome has a poor score. And if I look at it, it's not because of app crashes, not because of app hangs, it's purely because of resource utilization. And it looks like from a CPU perspective, that seems to be the primary usage problem. It has an average CPU of 15%, average memory of 8%, and the overall 95th percentile of CPU utilization is around 20. Now, clicking on Google Chrome, it's going to take me to the Google Chrome dashboard. And again, this dashboard is just going to quickly confirm, okay, yes, this seems to be the area that you need to pay attention to. Chrome is using more CPU than any other app out there, and it seems to be very high. And again, here I can see that, yes, there's been quite a few poor scores regarding CPU. I can see the average trend of CPU utilization over time. Is it trending up? Is it trending down? This is also very useful if you're trying to determine, is a particular application increasing CPU over time? So there are scenarios where that's very valid. Here you can see details about top OS versions, which pools are using the application the most. Let's see. Here we can see a comparison of sessions that are using the app. And we can also see the top sessions with high CPU. So again, this gives me a lot of information really fast. It's really basically showing me that, yes, Chrome is consuming a lot. It's also showing me the user that's running the highest CPU, which we already kind of confirmed at the beginning. But again, this is just a quick way to do analysis on an application. All right, so again, just to kind of recap here, looking at the DEX for Horizon solution, this is going to give you the experience scoring capabilities. It's going to unlock the abilities to do GPU processing. You're also going to get additional dashboards to do troubleshooting in the environment. It also includes the user timeline. So that gives you the ability to do user-based searching, so you can find users and troubleshoot problems. It also gives you the ability to do device timeline. So device timeline is for troubleshooting VM performance issues. So again, maybe you have a persistent desktop environment. Maybe you're not looking for a particular user. Maybe you're looking for an actual VM or RDSH host that has an issue, and you could do troubleshooting that way as well. So again, if you're looking for a particular VM, this is going to show you if there was a particular session during this time, what were the issues. You can click overview. That's going to show you all the data that we're collecting from the virtual machines, and it works very similar for RDSH hosts. So let me quickly find an RDSH host. I'm going to pick O1. And again, if I'm trying to do analysis of a host, maybe users are complaining about performance. In this particular host, at least within the last 24 hours, there wasn't a lot of performance issues. It's like Wi-Fi signal strength did have one indicator. Let me go back a little bit further. Yeah, so going back further, we can see that looks like Google Chrome was running pretty high for a period of time. But for the most part, it looks like user issues connecting into the host seem to be the primary issue. If I click on overview, it's going to show me all the metrics on that host. So we see things like session counts, how many users had a problem at a given point in time, Here we can see CPU spiked up to roughly 94%. We can confirm some Wi-Fi connectivity issues, some LAN latency issues, as well as protocol connectivity problems to this RDSH host. And just like with the user timeline, again, you get filtering. So if you just want to look at top apps running on the host, this will again show you that, hey, it looks like the next closest app to Chrome is the Windows installer. It's running at 8%, but Chrome really was running hot for that one period of time. All right, so outside of the session timelines, the experience scores, the application data, again, those all are included with the DEX for Horizon solution. They are not included with the base intelligence for Horizon. There are also some marketplace dashboards that you can import as well. So if you go into Marketplace, you can see that there are some dashboards available. Basically pick the Horizon integration, and that's going to show you the 3 available desktops or dashboards that you can import to your environment. So just to quickly show one of these dashboards. So I usually like to show like the applications dashboard. This is another great way to view data. Again, this kind of shows you how you can trend application scores over time, trending application trends, and you can see which applications have the highest crashes. You can also see app utilization trends, so which applications are being used the most. We can also see which apps are consuming the most CPU. So here, Google Chrome, as we've already showed you in the other dashboards, seems to be using the most resources. But we can also see things like PowerShell and Zoom meetings also consuming a lot of resources. Here we can actually trend the app CPU uses over time. So for if you have applications that are consuming more and more CPU over time, this kind of lets you trend like the top 20 or so apps all together. And you could do the exact same thing with apps with memory usage. So, hey, I'm just trying to find which apps are using over 20% memory. It's really primarily these 2 applications. And again, I can trend their memory usage over time with various charts and widgets. I can also see app launches by user. So which users launch the most apps. And I could also see it by app launch total. So this is sort of like a reverse way to look at, hey, which apps are being launched the most, but I can also find out which apps are being launched the least. So if you're trying to determine if certain apps are not really being used in the environment, this is a great way to quickly see, which apps are not being really launched by users. Other things we can do, we can actually trend applications by version. So here we have Chrome launches by version. This is basically showing us that, hey, there is some variance between the version of Chrome that's being used throughout the environment. Ideally, if it was all the exact same version of Chrome, you would have one bar and all the app launches would be the exact same color. Here we can see that half are .139 and the other half are .208. So again, just another example of how you can kind of use the application data to do some app rationalization, what apps are being used, what apps use the most CPU, which apps are crashing the most. Also, identify any apps where you don't have them uniformly deployed throughout the environment. Okay, now let's take a quick look at how the platform provides proactive alerting and guided root cause analysis using insights and investigations. So I'm going to navigate to Insights under Experience Management, and you'll see that we have 2 insights in our particular demo environment. One regarding session packet loss has increased, and also protocol latency has increased. So the way the insights work is, again, we're learning the dynamic normal ranges for your environment. So we look at the average packet loss over time, look at average protocol latency, logon times. And then as things start to drift from normal, the system will automatically send you an insight if you subscribe to the alert, and that way you'll be notified in your inbox that this particular problem has occurred. Now, when you see the insight within the UI, you can come in, you can see the pools, you can see the usernames associated with the alert, and you can also see the dynamic normal range that we see with the gray background, and the real-time values that were being trended over time for this particular packet loss issue. Now, once the alert is created, the engine is automatically going to create an investigation, which will trigger the guided root cause analysis. So here we can see that an investigation was created. I can click on that investigation and review the RCA results. Now, for this particular result, on a results summary, you'll notice that there's a stacked ranking of events. So the platform tries to correlate as many properties around the Horizon sessions as it can to determine, can we get a high level of confidence about the particular problem that the users are experiencing, and what are the common traits about those users having that particular issue. So here you can see that we have a high level of confidence around the overall protocol latency. We can see other metrics that are being collected around, are they all in the same pool or pod? What's the Horizon client version that they're using? What's the overall VM health for the particular users having the problem? We can look at session memory, blast protocol memory, as well as VM CPU utilization. And then based off these metrics, the root cause analysis engine will determine, what's our degree of confidence that, these events are related. Now, if I transition back to the insight and go back to the packet loss increase, again, let's say I wanted to do additional analysis for any of these particular users to kind of confirm the issue and determine, how good was this root cause analysis. So for here, I'm going to pick the last user, and we'll just click on the users tab, just like we did before. And I'm going to type in their username. And once the user loads, again, we could be taken into the session timeline. We could see that we're filtering on issues yet again, and that, yes, we're confirming that this user did have protocol packet loss, protocol latency. It looks like some of it could have been attributed to the Wi-Fi signal strength. Now, if we click overview, again, we can see the other metrics to see if there are any other offending problems, were there any CPU spikes, memory spikes. We can see that the login duration was a little bit higher than average, but otherwise, we're basically looking at or confirming that networking connectivity issues seem to be the primary problem. Some of it dealing with LAN latency, again, slightly over 2 or 3 milliseconds, and again, Wi-Fi signal strength is an ideal. But again, we can confirm the high protocol latency and packet loss to the environment. So that concludes today's demonstration. Thanks for watching this video. Look forward for additional content in the future showing the power of the DEX for Horizon platform. Thank you.